Are you tired of meal prepping because you're bored with eating the exact same healthy foods for breakfast, lunch, and dinner each day of the week? In this video, I'm revealing for the first time ever my best meal prep tips and tricks that are going to transform your healthy meals from boring to exciting, and you are actually going to look forward to eating them. The final 2 tips are by far the best, and you are going to want to start using them immediately. In order to make healthy eating happen each week, meal prepping is key. Now, there are a lot of different ways to do it, and there is no right or wrong answer here, but I do find that most meal prepping advice consists of you making one thing for each meal, portioning everything out in individual containers, and then proceeding to eat these leftovers every single day of the week. Now, if you like to eat the same thing each day, for example, like with breakfast, then that's totally fine. I am the same way. I'm not saying that you need to change that, especially if it's working for you and you enjoy it. But I personally find that eating like the same snack, dinner, and maybe even lunch, Monday through Sunday can get really boring. It is fun and healthy for yourself and for your family for you to add variety into your meals so that they are fresh, enjoyable, and contain a variety of nutrients. Also, when thinking through these tips and tricks, please know that you can scale the portion sizes to what you and your family need. Tip number 1 is to figure out what recipes you want to make and also think about what meals you're craving. As I mentioned in my healthy eating tips video, a big component of healthy eating is enjoyment. So make sure that you are planning meals you are actually excited to eat. You're going to find it really helpful to have a designated place to store recipes. I recommend keeping a recipe book where you can write down family recipes, ones you have created yourself, and also the ones that you find on YouTube or on food blogs. You can also tag recipes that you find in cookbooks, as well as create a binder for recipes that you print out. For example, these right here are my recipe books, and then I tagged some pages in my favorite cookbooks, including the one that I published, and this right here is my sourdough binder where I am keeping all of my sourdough recipes. This is important to do because there is nothing more frustrating than wasting time and emotional energy trying to find the recipes that you want to make, especially the ones that you find online. I highly recommend avoiding using your phone or your tablet to look at recipes while you meal prep. The screen goes black after a few seconds of inactivity, which is very frustrating. And because you are always having to touch it, they are going to get dirty, which is not good for expensive pieces of equipment. You also run the risk of losing the recipe and forgetting where online you found it. There are thousands of food blogs out there, and good luck trying to locate it several weeks after you originally found it. Plus, when you have the printout, you can write on it and make notes of any substitutions or changes that you make. Now, if you struggle with meal planning and finding recipes, don't worry. Tip number 2 is going to help you figure out where to start. Tip number 2 is to plan your meals around your protein. So first pick out which protein that you want to eat, and then you can plan out the sides and the flavors. For example, you can use eggs to make breakfast sandwiches, to-go egg bites, to top on salads, avocado toast, soups, dinner power bowls, and even in stir fries. You can roast chickpeas and top them on salads, or even enjoy them as a snack all on their own. They are delicious. And you can even use chickpeas to make your own homemade hummus. You can use a whole chicken to roast and then use the meat for salads, sandwiches, soups, casseroles, and you can also boil up the bones and make your own homemade bone broth. You can use ground turkey or ground beef to make meatballs, meatloaf, chili, burgers, and even quiches. You can use salmon to make stir fries, salmon burgers, and fish tacos. And depending on what herbs and spices you use to season your protein, you will end up creating meals with different flavors and keep things fun and interesting. This also allows you to buy proteins in bulk, which makes them more affordable in the long run. Now, if meal prepping feels overwhelming and it stresses you out, then I want you to follow the order that is mentioned in tip number 3. Tip number 3 is to write out a grocery list, take a look at what you have on hand, and then get what you need from the grocery store. Doing these steps in the order I just mentioned is going to help you work smarter, not harder, because it is frustrating and time-consuming to start cooking and then realize that you don't have an ingredient that you really need on hand. You're either going to have to stop what you're doing to go and get it or rearrange your meal plan. For example, it's hard to make chili when you have no chili powder on hand. Now, a big mistake that I see people make is that they get too rigid in their meal planning. While it is nice to have a plan, life happens and plans change. And the easier that you are able to adapt to that, the less stressful meal planning becomes. Sometimes you can't find an ingredient at the grocery store, or it's not on sale and it's just very expensive this week. So when this happens to you, it's okay, don't panic. Just take a moment to think about the recipes that you want to make, the flavors involved, and ask yourself, can I make a simple substitution here? Is there something else on sale that I can buy to make my meal happen? Do I need to change the whole thing entirely, or can I go to a different store to pick up the ingredients that I need? Sometimes the answer is yes, and sometimes the answer is no. Remember, necessity is the mother of invention, and allow yourself to get creative if need be. Now, before you even start meal prepping, it is super important that you are prepared for it, and tip number 4 is going to help you get ready for that. Tip number 4 is to have food storage containers and bags on hand that meet all of your meal prepping needs. For example, make sure that you have several individual containers as well as larger ones too when you cook foods in bulk. Make sure that they are freezer and microwave safe, and it's also nice when they stack easily too. Also think about how much fridge and freezer space you have and get sizes that will fit. You also want to have food storage bags and wraps on hand as well. A very famous saying that we have all heard before is that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound in cure. Well, I believe that the same principle can be used for meal prepping. An ounce of planning is worth a pound in your success to eat healthy, and that's where tip number 5 comes in. Tip number 5 is to think about what you want to make and eat the next day after eating dinner the night before. This simple question that you ask yourself allows you to set yourself up for success. So defrost the foods you need to easily make tomorrow's dinner. You can prep your lunch and your snacks so that you can easily grab and go the next morning. And if you need to, you can also meal prep your breakfast, like in the example with overnight oats. Now, if you're like, I want to meal prep, I really do, I know it's gonna help me, but I am just not a fan of eating leftovers, and I just want my foods to taste really fresh, then I totally get it, because so do I. Tip 6 is going to show you how to avoid eating the exact same leftovers every single day. Tip 6 is to get creative and learn how to repurpose leftovers to make new meals. This is a great way to save time on cooking and also make it so that you are not eating the exact same thing multiple days in a row. For example, let's say that you make roasted broccoli and mushrooms for dinner and you have some leftover. The next day, you can repurpose those leftovers and easily use them to make a veggie omelet for breakfast. Or if you made a roasted chicken for dinner one night, then you can slice off the chicken meat and then use it for lunch salads and to make a chicken tortilla soup. Another example is leftover burgers. Instead of eating burgers 2 nights in a row, on the second night, you can actually chop up the leftover burger and combine it with a small can of tomato sauce, some rice, herbs, spices, and a sauteed bell pepper to make a stuffed bell pepper. Meat, sauces, gravies, rice, and even soups meal prep really well, and they also take you the most amount of time to cook. So you can go ahead and get all of that done while you meal prep, and then that's going to free you up during the week to make fresh pasta, potatoes, and vegetables with different spices and flavors. This way, your meals taste fresh, they taste different, and they also take you less time to create. The people who are the most successful with this look at it like a challenge and they have fun with it, and you never know, you might just end up making your new favorite meal. And the tip that is by far going to make the biggest difference for you and that you are going to want to start implementing immediately is tip number 7, which is to set up your meat to meal prep several different meals right away when you first buy it. Instead of buying your meat in bulk and then freezing it all right away, portion it out to be used in several different ways. Then you can cook some up right away, and then you can also freeze the rest for later use. For example, when I buy a large package of chicken thighs, instead of freezing the full package right when I first get it, I will instead open it up and freeze up to 2 to 4 at a time in an individual bag. This way, when I defrost them, I can do so 1 package at a time. So I can use 1 package for a chicken soup, and then a week or 2 from now, I can defrost another package to make oven roasted rosemary and thyme chicken thighs. So 2 totally different meals, but the same protein, and I'm not making either one of them in such excess where I am stuck eating it for several days in a row, and that helps me prevent it all from going bad. Another example is when I buy ground turkey. I like to buy at least 3 pounds at a time, and instead of freezing all 3 pounds at once, I will open up the container and divide it into 2 sections. So one half I will cook up and use to make tacos, chili, dinner skillets, cottage pie, meat sauce, and or breakfast quiches. Then I will take the other half and put that in a mixing bowl with an egg, some milk, a crumbled up slice of my sourdough bread, and some herbs and spices, and I can use that to form meatballs, burger patties, and or a meatloaf depending on what I want to eat that week. As you can see here, this past week, I used the half that I cooked up to make a chili, meat sauce, and a breakfast quiche. And then I used the meat, egg, and bread mixture to make meatballs, to make tomato sauce, and I also used it to make some burgers as well. I could have also used the meatballs to make Asian meatballs, or I could have used them in a brown mushroom gravy. So lots of different options to choose from. And then since I was going to eat chili on this particular meal prep night, I wrapped up the burgers in plastic wrap and then froze them individually. This way, whenever I want to have a burger for dinner over the next couple of weeks, I can take out however many I need from the freezer and allow them to defrost either, the night before or the morning of, and just cook them up. And this makes my meal easy and quick to make, but also still fresh and tasty. So by meal prepping this way, you can cook up a whole meal and package up various leftovers to make to-go containers all throughout the week if that is something that you really need for your schedule. And you are also preparing the basics that can then be used to make all different types of meals, not only for the week, but even a couple of weeks out. So the work that you put in is not only going to benefit you for that given week, but for several weeks. And when you get yourself into a rotating schedule like this, you can easily and quickly put nourishing meals on the table or in a lunchbox each day that have variety and taste fresh. Now, if you're like, Marissa, I need you to show me these tips and tricks in action, then don't worry because I got you. Click on this video right here and you will see how you can make an entire week's worth of meals using one whole chicken. And if you want more help improving your eating habits, getting nourishing and easy to make recipes, and learning how to live a healthy lifestyle, then click the subscribe button. I share videos each week on these topics because I truly want to see you succeed in improving and maintaining your health. So thank you so much for watching this video, and as always, stay well, my friends.